What up, though? What up, y'all? What's going on? Welcome to the People's Power Lunch with me, the People's Prophetess, Jacquie Luqman. And I am not able to be in the big sunny conference room that I like to be in. So I'm in the smaller conference room here in the studio with the bad lighting. So sorry about that. But I usually like being in the big conference room because it's surrounded, it's got, it's a window view, and we get to see the view on the street. And I like a lot of sunlight, so couldn't get that done today. So here we are in the dark little room, and it's kind of fitting, I guess, because social media can be weird, y'all. Really, really weird. Can I just say, social media can be just trash because the thing with social media is, and by the way, thanks y'all for joining me. I just started this show just really in a mood. Okay, I'm in a whole mood for a couple of reasons, and I'll tell you why. But first, let me do this right. Let me do right by y'all and say hello to all of my power lunchers. Latif, Kalisha, Khaleesi's dragon. What's going on? Leah Boggs, Eugene Mason, Yipper 99, Phil Winter, nice strawberries got going there, Phil. Deborah Rodriguez, my girl, Corinna Acre Paez, what's going on? My prima, love you. Thanks you all for joining me today for the Power Lunch with Jacquie Luqman. And if you are watching this on Black Power Media, then you should be subscribed to Black Power Media. And if you're not, shame on you. Fix that. Subscribe to Black Power Media. Click on the notification bell so that you can get notice whenever anybody uploads content or goes live on this channel. We appreciate your support. You can support Black Power Media on Patreon as well, patreon.com/Black Power Media, and you can support Luqman Nation on patreon.com/Luqman Nation, LuqMannation. And tomorrow I will do a patrons only stream. I think tomorrow is the next January 6th hearing. So maybe I'll have something else a little bit interesting to talk about that. But tomorrow, definitely a patrons only stream for our People's Power Lunch. What's going on? My host, my comrade, Sean the Voice Blackman over there. Leah, I don't know who you have blocked, but so okay, y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me this afternoon at the People's Power Lunch with me, Jacquie Luqman. And yeah, I do have a little bit of an attitude today for a couple of reasons. I'm in my feelings today because today is the first anniversary of my husband's untimely passing. It has been 1 year today since Abdus left us. And of course, a lot of emotions, a lot of things have happened. And I mean, God, y'all, like, I was talking to someone a few days ago, and I was saying how, this past 2 years has been so crazy with all of these things that have happened. And then they kind of corrected me. And then I had to think about it like, damn, it hasn't been 2 years. It has not been 2 years. It's been 1 year. My husband passed away June 15th of last year. His son passed away in March of this year. And then our boy Brewski passed away just last month. And at the end of last month too. And I mean, it's been, it's been, y'all, it's been. And people ask me all the time, how are you doing? How are you doing this? How are you holding up? And I honestly don't have an answer. I really don't. I wish I had some wisdom, some sage, wisdom to give people. I ain't got none. I don't. I mean, and I am a person of faith. And I believe that there is something, someone, the Orishas, the universe, the God, God, the goddesses, whomever is sustaining me and helping me put one foot in front of the other and have gotten me to this point. But that's all I got. Like, but I really do want to say to you all who have been supporters of Luqman Nation, and I mean, since hell, some of y'all have been rocking with me and Abdus since we started this thing in 2014, right? Some of you have been rocking with us since 2015, right? Since the I just want to say thank y'all. Really, thank you for all of your support, all of your love. Probably would not be able to keep doing this without you all. So don't ever underestimate your importance to people who do this kind of thing. You have been incredibly important to me. And I just really wanted to take the time to say that. And along that line, along that vein, social media also has its pitfalls, right? Like I like being on Facebook because I get to see, my friends from all over the country and folks all over the world and all the fun stuff they're doing. And that's, until we can get together physically in the meantime, in between time, that's the way we communicate with each other and keep in touch. But I hate Twitter. I'm just going to tell you, I hate Twitter. And I'm going to show you why. Because see, Twitter lets anybody in your house. Facebook, even if I set my stuff to public, it's like I don't get a lot of traffic other than people who I am friends with, and that's cool. Twitter just be letting anybody all up in your house. They be coming in, throwing their trash around. Then you got to kick them out. Let me show you what I mean. And I'm going to try to share my screen, and I'm warning you, I did cuss at this person because I felt like they needed to be cussed at. So I retweeted this from my friend, and I am being petty, by the way. I'm being petty with a capital P and a capital Y at the end right now because sometimes some people just deserve it. So this person, I retweeted my friend and comrade Danny Hafong's tweet about Henry Kissinger calling for an end to the Ukraine crisis through negotiation. And Danny said he's also called on the United States to stop pursuing a two-China solution in relation to Taiwan. Danny said Henry Kissinger is more reasonable than the entire Biden foreign policy team at this point. That right there is the point. That is the point of the tweet. No, nobody's big up in Henry Kissinger. Nobody is like, oh, Henry Kissinger's so wise. No. The point is that Henry Kissinger, Henry warmongering, bloodthirsty, blood on his hands and feet, still wet and dripping Kissinger is more reasonable than Biden's foreign policy. That's the point. And I retweeted saying the things you come to realize when you knocking on death's door. I couldn't say heaven's door because Henry Kissinger is not going to heaven. It's not happening. So this person, I don't know who this person is, just randomly says, fuck that dude. I hope it hurts tremendously when it finally gets him. But that wasn't the point of the tweet. I tried to be diplomatic. I said the point is that even someone as warmongering as evil and evil as he is realizes these are the correct approaches to these two issues. This person comes back with, honestly, don't give a fuck what people like him have to say, really. I said, thanks for missing the point, though. Then this person comes back with this bullshit. The point is, it seems you're looking for some kind of absolution for this man. I can guarantee you he's not doing what he's doing for the reasons you think. Ain't nobody gave no reasons for anything that man said. Nobody's looking for absolution for him. The point was clear as fucking crystal. But this person still comes back with this. And I'm sorry, because I'm in a mood. I'm in my feelings. I don't give a damn. I'm 55. I'm middle-aged. I don't have to be nice to you if I don't want to. I don't owe you nothing. This is what I said to him. Fuck you. That's not the point. No one was looking for any damn absolution. It's clearly stated that even evil ass warmongering Kissinger got this right, but here you come with this false bullshit because you chose to see something there that was not kick rocks. And then this is the response that this person gives. And see, this is the kind of typical bullshit that you have to deal with on Twitter when you present an argument and you try to be diplomatic with people who disagree with you, and then when they can't disagree with you on the merits of their ridiculous bullshit infantile juvenile argument in the first place, then they resort to the personal insults. So, the person tweeted something else, and I can't let's see. Oh yeah. Yeah, this one, because calling women bitches is always it's always a good look. That's always, yeah. And I don't even bother to, like, I guess people sometimes do things like they look and see how many followers this people, people like them have, and how many. I don't care. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference. The point is, Twitter allows that kind of thing. People can just roll up on your doorstep and just fling the door wide open and just poop on your floor. And I guess people feel like, and I see this on social media sometimes, where you respond to people the way they deserve to be responded to. Like I did with that person. And people are like, "Oh no, you shouldn't do that." Or then, "Oh, you shouldn't block people." What if I would not tolerate that kind of inter exchange with people, with somebody in real life? Why would I tolerate it on social media? Y'all are crazy with this. You can't be blocking people on social media, and don't block people. What, man, life is short. I got one life. I'm not going to waste a whole bunch of it dealing with a whole bunch of that. That's ridiculous. But yeah, it's, whoo, that was just like, uh-huh. This is why very frequently you see me on Facebook a lot more than you will see me on Twitter, because Twitter be letting everybody and they brother and they cousin and they messed up uncle up in your yard. And then you have to deal with them as you escort them out. And ugh, it's enough going on in the world. But I just thought that was amusing, to share with you. But you know what else is amusing? You know what else has been really, really amusing to me? The revelations that came out of the January 6th insurrection hearing yesterday's. Was it yesterday's, or what's today? Wednesday, Tuesdays. Yeah. That the Trump campaign, well, Donald Trump, I won't say his campaign, Donald Trump, grifted $250 million out of his supporters after the election that he lost, that he said was stolen from him. Well, here's the thing. How did this happen? According to the evidence that was revealed in the January 6th insurrection hearing, the Trump campaign, well, through his campaign, they sent millions of emails out after January 6th, telling supporters that they had to donate to election integrity, and specifically, "Oh no, you're not going to do that to me, Rolling Stone." Yeah, they are. But specifically, that they had to donate to this official election integrity task force, or commission. That's what it was, the official election integrity commission. The problem was, um, it never existed. There never existed an official election integrity commission, task force, group of folks, um, uh, working group. It didn't exist. And Trump knew this. the Trump campaign, the people who crafted that email and sent it out to the millions, hundreds of millions of Trump supporters, knew that. They knew that thing didn't exist, and they told people that they needed to send money into that non-existent organization anyway. And they did. Trump supporters did, because they believed the election was stolen because he said it was. And Trump got $250 million from his supporters. $250 million from people who just a year ago, a year before, were protesting COVID lockdowns because they were losing money, because they were losing paychecks, because their businesses were losing money, because they were shutting down their businesses. And I just think I want to share some of the pictures from these COVID lockdown protests, and some of the signs that people were holding up. I don't know if you can see this. I hope you can see this okay. Let me see. So there's this one here where they're holding up a sign that said, "This is not about a virus. It's about government total control of the people." But Trump totally controlled y'all to give him $250 million. So it wasn't about election oversight or election integrity. It was about y'all giving Trump $250 million. That's what that was about. Let's see, another. Oh yeah, this was my favorite. One of my favorite COVID lockdown protest signs or chants: "Facts, not fear." So these people were really afraid, because Trump told them to, that the election was stolen from them. So they believed his lie that the election was stolen as fact, when it really wasn't, when the real fact was there was no official election integrity commission that existed that they were giving their money to. Those are facts. Yeah, let's see. Practice media distancing. That might have been a good idea for some of these folks who were relieved of their $250 million. They needed to have practiced distancing from Trump and his control of conservative media in particular. That would have been a good idea for them. Let's see, what else? Defy fascist lockdown. I don't know if you can call theft fascist. Probably not. But I mean, I'm sure they would wish at this point, the people who were separated from their $250 million, I'm sure they wish they had defied the criminal theft, because what Donald theft, that's a good one. What Donald theft, what Donald Trump committed was fraud. Because, see, if you or I had done such a thing, we'd be in jail, especially soliciting money from people under false pretenses. And then to have a political apparatus do it on behalf of the then sitting president of the United States of America, that's probably fraud. Yeah, yeah. But again, I think I made this point last week that, as far as the people who were concerned about the economic impact of the COVID lockdowns, we have to be very, very careful that we don't align ourselves with these right-wing forces that seem to have a good point, but their answer to the problem that they might correctly identify completely counter to everything that we need, right? Because while the COVID lockdowns did indeed cause great disruption and harm to people economically, that was because the government did not do its job in making sure that people were taken care of, that people's incomes was supplemented and we didn't lose any income, that uh, um, people were provided food and medicine and our rent was paid and our bills were paid. If the government had done those things, I bet you those people would never have protested about any COVID lockdowns and losing paychecks and their businesses losing money, because those things wouldn't have happened. But instead, their response to the economic issues that the COVID lockdowns, the way the US, the semi lockdowns, because they really weren't, because remember, it was working class and poor people, mostly Black and brown folks, who were forced to go back to work, calling us essential workers and giving us a $2 an hour raise that was not extended. And that was yanked as soon as some politicians declared the pandemic over. These people's response was not for the government to do its job and take care of its people in the midst of this pandemic. Their answer was to reopen the government, was to reopen society, rather, to open up everything. And if people die from the from the pandemic, if people die from COVID, then they just die. Because at that point, we all figured out that it was mostly Black and brown people who were dying from COVID. So of course their response was, if they die, they die. So while it is a shame, it really is an absolute shame. I think it's such a shame that people in this country are so desperately misinformed, miseducated, uneducated, and so deeply entrenched in the white supremacist American exceptionalist ideology that they actually believe they got something materially substantive from a Trump presidency when they really didn't. They nobody's material conditions improved under Trump except for rich people. But they were so wedded to the idea of having someone in the White House who espoused the same narrow-minded, hateful, xenophobic, white supremacist, patriarchal attitudes that they did, that was enough for them to go along with. He was their hero. And for many, many Trump supporters, he still is their hero. And they do believe that he is an embattled hero. So it remains to be seen the effect that these hearings will have on regular folks, particularly on Trump supporters. Fox News isn't even, they're not even airing them. Um, I don't know, but I do know that the reason they're even being done, and we talked about this a little bit on the morning show this morning, the reason the Democrats are even doing this, I mean, they're saying, oh, it's, pursuit of justice and truth and blah, 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 blah. No, it's not. It's the Democrats are using this as a campaign boost. Because, I mean, they tried to impeach Trump and they couldn't on the Russia collusion thing. Now they finally have some there to use against him to take the wind out of the sails of a possible second run for him. It's entirely possible. Um, but really, this is for them a midterm campaign ploy and a 2024 campaign tactic. They're going to be running on, look, we exposed Trump for what he did, and we proved that Trump orchestrated the big lie and knew about it, and he ripped off his supporters. And you're going to hear all of that in the midterm races from the Democratic candidates. You're going to hear that in the debates in 2024 from the Democrats. But these hearings are also the precursor to the Democrats going wholeheartedly into, as if they weren't already, they really were, but this is also the Democrats giving full support to increasing the police state in this country. because what they're going to do with this is particularly the additional footage of the violence, which was brutal. It was people have been talking about how Black Lives Matter have been burning cities to the ground for, in 2020. And we know that was just absolute bullshit. There's none of that actually happened. But these people actually did assault cops. These people actually did trespass and break and enter and yeah, all of that, and violate federal property, and they did all of the things that we're accused of doing. And now the Democrats are going to use this additional footage of all of this violence as a reason for them to now be tougher on crime than even Republicans. And they're going to push for more funding of police, increasing police forces, increasing militarized policing, all of that. So that increasing surveillance, all of that. And the thing is, all of that increased policing, the entrenching of the fascist police state in this country, it's not going to be pointed at the communities of people that those folks on January 6th came out of. It's going to be pointed at us. That all of that is going to be used against us. But Democrats are going to use this imagery from January 6th to run on tough on policing, tough on crime, but they're not going to say tough on crime. They're going to call it them being tough on domestic terrorism. They're going to use the January 6th insurrectionists to push their own tough on domestic terrorism policies. But then those policies are going to be turned right back around on us. That's what's going to happen with this. I cannot tell you if these hearings are going to result in any criminal charges against any of the people who have testified. That they've testified to some pretty damning things. But see, this commission, this January 6th commission in the House, they don't have the authority to charge anyone. From what I understand, they have the authority to recommend charges to the Department of Justice. They are kind of arguing amongst themselves about whether they're going to do that or not, or when they're going to do that, or who they're going to recommend charges for. We've only seen the second of several hearings. I think the next hearing is tomorrow. So all of that remains to be seen. I do know that the Department of Justice has asked for all of the evidence that they have, all of the video testimonies, all of it. So the Department of Justice could act independently to charge some of these people. But I would not I would not hold my breath waiting for something to be done to any of those folks. And honestly, I do think the only way Trump does not run again is if he is charged with a crime. Which, if as Kim Brown noted this morning, if the Democrats were smart, they would make sure that he's charged with, because that's the only way he doesn't run again. And if he runs again, he wins. That I'm just trying to tell you what's fitting to happen. But I think more importantly, more materially important to you, me, and us and ours, and our comrades, is the fact that these hearings will result in a more money for police, more militarized police, more legislation expanding the pursuit of so-called domestic terrorists, and we're going to be the targets of all of that, which is why, and I want to make sure I don't forget this, we on By Any Means Necessary, and I know a lot of other outlets talked about last year, the fact that, well, no, not 2 years ago, the fact that several law enforcement agencies, the FBI, the Capitol Police, Metropolitan Police Department, and other alphabet intelligence agencies knew that there was a credible threat of violence weeks before January 6th happened. They knew. They had transcripts from social media posts where people were planning violence. They knew. But the Democrats have chosen not to make the failures of law enforcement and their response a part of these hearings. That is telling because the Democrats, I mean, they don't want to hold the people accountable that they're going to turn around and give a whole bunch of money, a whole bunch of additional money and power to. So they're not gonna, they're not gonna hold them accountable. So I thought it was telling that the Democrats did not, um, and specifically said the first day of the hearing, that they would not focus on law enforcement. So that's that. That's that. $250 million. That man, Circus Barker, a reality show host, swaggering, braggart, liar, con man, his whole life. And somehow people are surprised that he was able to rip millions of people off to the tune of $250 million. And before I forget, I'm so glad I just remembered. Um, the old post office pavilion here in Washington, D.C. is one of my favorite, used to be one of my favorite sites because it's got a bell tower that you can go up in and it's a beautiful panorama of the city. Well, that Trump bought that and he turned that into Trump Hotel. And he closed the tower so you couldn't go up. And he's like, oh, they never used it. It was a tourist attraction. It was been. So it was Trump Hotel up until, I swear to you, well, it's June. I swear to you, last month it was Trump Hotel. I am sure that last month, at the beginning of May, the sign out front was Trump Hotel. Yesterday, I drove into work and I passed by that. I still call it the old post office pavilion. I pass by that when I drive into work every day when I drive in. And I just happened to notice that it's no longer the Trump Hotel anymore. The sign is gone. It's not the Trump Hotel anymore. Now I think it's a Waldorf Astoria or something or other like that. Some, high-end shishi poo poo hotel that I'm never going to stay in because it costs you damn much money. But the good news is that they opened the bell tower again. So I'm very happy about that. But isn't that interesting how all of a sudden, like they must have took that Trump sign down like in the middle of the night. One night, because I swear to y'all, it was there and then it was not. And there was no fanfare or anything. And I just thought that was very interesting. That at least here in Washington, D.C., on the surface, he is persona non grata as far as business as is concerned. So I don't know. I'm gonna continue to watch these hearings. I think they've been uh, uh, morosely amusing, um, and I'll see what else they have to say. I didn't think they'd be interesting, but some pretty interesting things have come out of them. So okay, let's talk about gun control for a minute because the Senate has produced a bipartisan gun control bill. I think it's the Senate. 10 Republicans, 10 Democrats have crafted this legislation, and Mitch McConnell likes it, which that's a sure sign that it's trash. But anyway, there are some aspects to this legislation that, um, are not bad on the face of them. So there is money for the states to help create new red flag laws. But we have to remember that 19 states and Washington, D.C. already have laws on the books. So those states would be eligible for more money to improve the effectiveness of the programs they already have, whatever that means. I don't know what that means. Don't ask me. It's very vague. It also includes what they call major investments to increase mental health and suicide prevention programs, and support other services available in the community, including crisis and trauma intervention recovery. Okay, that sounds good on the surface, and I'm not saying that that's a bad thing. I think it's important that conservatives even bothered to mention that the need for community uh, um, mental health and crisis and trauma prevention services. That's great, but does it include funding for actual mental health treatment? Right? Because that falls under the purview of health care. And the healthcare system in this country is for profit and it's crap. So the people who need that the most, the people who suffer from the most trauma, from who endure daily crises, who need the most community help, are the people who can't afford health care. The most, and I don't see where this legislation changes or addresses any of that. So short of um, national health care where everybody gets the health care they need no matter what it's for, and nobody has to pay for you know, how much money you make is not a precursor to the quality of medical care you get. Short of that, I don't see where this helps. I mean, I it's good to have community level crisis and trauma intervention and recovery, but if our crisis is capitalism. Capitalism is the crisis that's at the crux of all of these problems. And the trauma, that's poverty. It's poverty. So sure, we have, you know, crisis intervention, but if people need therapy, if people need medication, if people need to be hospitalized for a while as part of the recovery, does the funding include, does the funding in this legislation cover that, or is that something that people have to just, you know, wing it on their own like we already do? That's not, I don't see how it's nice language they put in there, but it's not even a band-aid on a problem, on the problem. What's also in the legislation, I think it's important, the boyfriend provision is included in this legislation, and the boyfriend provision would keep anyone who was in a serious dating relationship and was convicted of domestic violence against their partner from owning a gun. And this is important because previously the law said that only those who were married to, lived with, or had a child with their partner, and they were convicted of abusing that partner, only they, people who were married to, lived with, or had a child with their partner, were prohibited from owning a gun if they were convicted of abusing their partner. So the boyfriend provision includes people who were dating folks and were, you know, convicted of abuse. They are now included in the people who can be prohibited from owning a gun. But here's the thing. Does the boyfriend provision and the current or the former provision, does that include cops? Because according to several studies, and I know that some of these studies are dated, but I mean, it's difficult to get the accurate statistics on this issue because of the blue wall of silence, the culture of intimidation, and the violence itself in policing. Um, at least some studies show that 40% of cops in the US have abused their spouses. And another study showed that police abuse, or I'm sorry, domestic abuse among law enforcement occurs at 15 times the rate that it occurs in the general population. So unless law enforcement are also um, subjected to the boyfriend provision, the boyfriend clause, and then it what use is it? And then let's see what else is in here. Oh, excuse me. It would also uh, have the National Instant Criminal Background Check System contact state and local law enforcement to search for any disqualifying mental health or juvenile records to keep folks who want to buy a gun who are between the ages of 18 and 21 from buying a gun if anything in their mental health or juvenile records precludes them from being able to buy a gun. All right, here's my problem with that. Um, Most people who struggle with mental issues are not violent, number one. So I'm curious as to how what what in the medical history of someone who has mental issues would preclude them from being able to purchase a gun. Like I would need to know what it is they are considering a mental issue that would preclude someone from being able to own a gun, because again, most people who struggle with mental issues are not violent. All right. And then, not to say that there are none, but and then the whole juvenile records thing. I thought juvenile records were sealed. So I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all set me straight if I'm on the wrong path here. But I feel like unless someone's juvenile record reflects that they like literally committed assault with a deadly weapon, or they literally killed someone, what is it in someone's juvenile record that would warrant? So I'm just not comfortable with having people's sealed juvenile records being used against them. And I don't see how they would. I don't, let me say it this way. I don't trust these people not to throw a whole bunch of stuff in there that just really would just infringe on people's right to their privacy, to having their juvenile records remain sealed. You understand what I'm saying? I'm really not feeling that. I just feel like raise the age to be eligible to buy a gun to 21 and leave people's juvenile records the hell alone. That's just my opinion, but I could be wrong. That's the how I'm feeling. Let's see what else is in here. They are going to expand the definition of licensed firearm dealer, and this is so that more gun sellers will have to register as a licensed firearm dealer, which would mean they would have to conduct background checks, which are mandated by federal law already on all buyers. And that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's bad, but the thing is, private gun sellers would still be able to like go to gun shows and sell their guns, or have informal sales and sell their guns from their collections without having to register as a firearms dealer. So they would still not have to do background checks. So there's that. Um, and then the last part, I think, is that, of course, they're going to provide money to, quote, help institute safety measures in and around primary and secondary schools, while also supporting school violence prevention efforts and training for school employees and students. Y'all, you know that means more cops in schools, right? You know that's what that means. money for a safety measures in and around primary and secondary schools. That's school cops. That's what that means. And this whole thing about school violence prevention efforts and training for school employees, you know that means arming teachers, right? That's not. So that's what seems to be in the bipartisan Senate version of the gun control legislation, whatever you want to call it. It's not going to control a doggone thing. Um, a lot of people are saying, well, it's progress. It's better than nothing. Now, sometimes nothing is okay. Sometimes if better than nothing is like literally pretty much the equivalent of nothing, that things are going to be the same if you get a little bit better than nothing, you might as well leave it at nothing and just, yeah. So as I said, Mitch McConnell agrees with this, so surprisingly enough, it'll probably pass, and I don't think anything much different will happen. I don't know that it will impact the gun violence that we experience in this country, that the rest of the world marvels at, because society itself in this country is not changed in any way at all with this legislation. Not at all. Not at all. So that there is that. And finally, the person who murdered 10 people in Buffalo is being charged with, I have to show you his picture here because I can't get to the headline because of that ad up there. He's being charged with multiple federal hate crimes that carry the potential of the death penalty. Of course, he pleaded not guilty, you know. Uh, A criminal complaint filed by prosecutors in the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of New York states that this person's motive, they mentioned him, I'm not going to call his name, his motive for the mass shooting was to prevent Black people from replacing white people and eliminating the white race, and to inspire others to commit similar attacks. And I guess a couple of things about that. Like, replacement theory is so strange to me. I know that some people really just really believe it, and they think it's I but I mean, globally, when you are already in the statistical minority, most people on this planet are not. Most people on this planet are varying shades of. mm. So, I mean, we don't replace. We already outnumber you. just that's just the thing. Now, of course, we see the very real manifestation of the reaction to this belief as irrational and illogical, and as not rooted in reality as it is. We see the reaction to this belief in the global coalescing of fascist forces among all of these right-wing governments and their fascist paramilitary operations, and the coordination in covert training that goes on between these seemingly disparate groups of right-wing crazy people. We like to call them crazy people, but don't dismiss these people as crazy. They're not crazy. They are illogical, sure, but no, they are very, very serious, and they are very methodical in their response. Yes, they are absolutely reacting to something that is completely irrational. But you know what they are, though? They're organized. The fact that this one person acted in this way alone does not mean that there is not an international coordination of people like him, who think like him, who are organizing, training, they are entrenching themselves even more deeply in the ideology. They are gaining political, not gaining, um, um, they are building upon their political power, solidifying their relationships with these right wing governments, trying to keep them in power, the Bolsonaros, the Anyeses, yeah, the Trumps. So when someone like Steve Bannon, people dismiss him as a someone who looks like he's suffering from several diseases, and well, it's true he does, but he is also involved in coordinating several international far right fascist formations that have ties to right wing governments in several countries. So, you know, I I I think it's ugh, I don't even know what to say about how we need to be responding to this kind of thing, other than we seriously need to be much more serious about our own organization. There are a whole lot of things that we need to stop messing around with. We need to stop nitpicking, majoring in the minors and minoring in the majors. We need to make the thing that we need to focus on the thing, and we need to organize around that, and that is the liberation of all people. We need to form international solidarity with people who are struggling against imperialism in the global south. All of them. Yes, people on the continent of Africa, absolutely, but also the people in Venezuela, the people in Cuba, Nicaragua, Honduras, Guatemala. Yeah, the people we need to hang with, we need to organize with anti-imperialist people in China. We need to organize with anti-imperialist people in Russia and in Europe, and yeah, yes we do. We need to be serious about international solidarity to fight against the rise of global fascism, because it is happening. It's not something that is going to happen in the next 10 or 15 years. It's happening right now. Let me give you an example, and then I'm going to wrap up our lunch. I hope you all enjoyed your lunch. I hope you had something good and nutritious and delicious, and a nice drink, and that you didn't eat too much so that you will fall asleep for the rest of the day. So I was coming back from Venezuela, and I was in the connecting airport, going to my connecting flight. And we were going through customs, and we're going through I'm going through one turnstile, and a white family was to the left of me. And I know it was a family because mama was there with the daughter and daddy and the two boys. And they were American. I know they were American because I heard them talking. And they were Southern. They were Southern. So mama was like, Kelly, get your brother's boots. And Tom, don't forget the boys. Don't forget the boys' vests. And Davy, you don't forget. So, okay. So I noticed that they all had on, the men all had on these t-shirts with a picture of a tree with roots and the word raíces at the bottom. So, I think raíces means roots. So, and they're all coming, this flight, everyone going into customs were all coming from Venezuela. All right. So I look over and I notice that the boys and dad had on military style gear, like desert issue military style gear, like the khaki, the pants, the combat pants with, they had the desert boots. One of them had like what looked like a flak jacket. And I'm thinking to myself, what were a bunch of Americans doing coming from Venezuela with a bunch of military and as I thought the sentence almost literally stopped in my head because I realized what I was probably seeing. And God, Goddess, Orisha's universe, correct me and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure what I was seeing was a family of white folks who went and took their kids to Venezuela to train in one of those covert kind of military training camps that the right wing runs in coordination with the Colombian government. That's how serious this is. If I could see something like that at some random airport that I'm, getting my connecting flight at coming from Venezuela, if I saw that, how much bigger do you think it really is? I think it's much, much bigger. I think we are at the point where we need to stop celebrating when one race soldier gets caught after he's murdered 10 of our people and is sentenced to prison. We need to really seriously start organizing to protect our communities, to protect our people. And we honestly need to start organizing and talking about what we want to build on the ashes of this society when this empire finally falls, because that's what those folks are organizing to do. They're organizing governance structures. They're organizing community survival. They're already in coordination with people with a whole lot of money, which I understand we are at a disadvantage in regard to, but they're already organizing to build on the ashes of this empire when it falls. These people they're not fighting to prop up this empire. They know it's falling. They're fighting over control of the ashes because they will build something much worse. And they're banking on that. They are banking on that. They're fine to seize control of this empire while it's still standing. They're fine with that. It would be that much easier for them to work with. But they know the empire is falling. And they are organizing to be prepared to step right in when it does. What are we organizing to do? So, thank you all so much for hanging out with me on today's People's Power Lunch with Jacquie Luqman. I had a great time. I hope you had a great time, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See you tomorrow at 1 o'clock on patreon.com, Luqman Nation, for the patrons only People's Power Lunch. Until then, peace.